Hello and welcome to Super Sunday. This is a questions and answers video or Q&A for the 6th of September 2020. It's your chance once a month to have your questions and my answers featured in a video. The next Q&A video will be on the 4th of October, so I would welcome any questions for that video to be placed in the comments below this one so that I can just check back and get some answers ready. Alternatively, you can just join us in the Discord server. My Discord name is obviously Super Saiyan, and that's how I've managed to get all of the questions for today's video. So yeah, you can drop them either there or you can drop them in the comment section of this one. It's been ages since I did one of these videos, and I had a few people ask if they were ever going to return, and here they are. I hope you're enjoying this better sound quality. It's courtesy of a boom arm, a shock mount and a pop filter. I've pretty done everything that I can in the microphone department now, both in terms of the review videos and these standalone videos. Without further ado then, let's have a look at some of these questions in the Q&A section. So the first question comes from Zila FX. What do you do for a living and how did you get into Warhammer? Well, what I do for a living, I try and keep that quite private. I always have for all of the 7 years I've been on YouTube. It's not so much what I do for a living, it's more in terms of my outgoings and the costs involved. You could say I probably have less outgoings than a lot of people, so that kind of frees up some of my budget. I guess the example I could give for someone else that I know is him and his wife both work full time, so they have a decent, disposable income. They've both got very good jobs, so their circumstances are different to, say, if there's only one person working in the family, or if they're both working but one's only working part time. You see where I'm coming from? Like, everybody's circumstances are different, so it's not particularly what I do for a living. It's just that my outgoings are so little that I can choose to buy things for the hobby, and I buy most of the things that you see on the channel for the channel. There's no way I would have got into Custodes or Death Guard or the recent Warhammer Age of Sigmar videos if I didn't have the channel. I probably would have just stuck to Space Marines and maybe get a couple of Orcs or Eldar now and again, because they're the core armies. I'm not even sure whether I would have invested in the big Titans and things. I know that having the channel was a big motivator for me to get the Warlord Titan, and even more so the Warbringer. I really wanted to get that, and that was the first time I got one of those Titans kind of on release. So the channel was the motivator for that. How did you get into Warhammer? Well, I was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time, so I was a child, and my friend, intelligent guy, he asked me to come to a shop once, not a Warhammer shop, just a like a toy shop, and he bought this tank, like a Whirlwind, and it was plastic and metal, and I was really interested. I thought, well, what is this? What is this thing? I'd never really been into models before 11 or 12. Like, I'd never had any of the Revel kits or anything like that, and I found this quite interesting. So and he had a very small army and things, but I decided to buy a Space Marine starter paint set, which included 5 plastic Space Marines, which were kind of what you'd call monopose now, and they were also less detailed than if you bought the separate kits, but nonetheless I stuck with it. I painted them. So I think I sprayed them Corax White, or Skull White as it used to be called, back when cans of spray were like £9. And I mean, they haven't gone up that much, to be fair. But still, I sprayed them and then I painted them black. So this is way before even black spray. Thought they looked all right. And then the collection grew. I remember doing a paper round and saving up money just to buy 5 Terminators. And then I eventually saved up for a Dreadnought. I think a metal Dreadnought was £25, and that was a huge amount of money. Even the Terminators at £15. I used to get £12 a week on my paper round. So I couldn't quite afford a squad of 5 Terminators with 1 week's worth of pay. So yeah, that was the beginning of it all. I hope that's answered your question. So that's how I got into Warhammer, through a friend. Maybe you guys have got through Warhammer through a friend, or maybe you've got it through YouTube. You know, we've got the power of the internet at our fingertips nowadays, and we didn't have that growing up. Next question comes from Echo1 Actual. They're very active on the Discord server, which is great. How much money have you spent on Warhammer 40,000? Oh, wow. What inspired you to get into the Warhammer hobby, and what inspired you to make Warhammer content on YouTube? Well, I think I've answered the sandwiched question there, the middle one. But how much money have you spent on Warhammer 40,000? I don't keep a running total. I don't. Have you spent? I mean, I could probably tell you how much I spend a month on it. On average, it would probably be about £200 to £400 a month, maybe, at the moment. How much have I spent on it in total, though? I'd probably say close to 20,000. I mean, just the Titans themselves are pushing 8,000, I'd say. So, yeah, a lot. I spent more on the Warhammer hobby than any other hobby, I think. Now, I've had a lot of games consoles in the past, and I had about 400 Xbox 360 games, and I bought them all new. So yeah, I've definitely spent more on Warhammer 40,000 than anything else. And I've got all the usual things that people have, like a telly and speaker. And watching films is a hobby, of course. And, you know, buying a telly and a surround system and things is part of the cost of that hobby, as well as the, you know, Blu-rays. I mean, that's the thing about Warhammer is I know people that, you know, that buy a few Blu-rays a week or one a week, and I don't do that. I will stream a lot of movies and films, but then I'll only buy the films that I really, really want to in 4K or whatever. I'll only like buy the physical copies of those if I really want to. So yeah, I hope that gives you some kind of idea. I'll probably say about 20,000. Too much, really. If you're able to just pick one army for 40k and one army for Age of Sigmar, then wow, hats off to you. But the thing is, there's so many beautiful, amazing models that you're, I say, not missing out on, but there's just so much variety out there in this hobby and with Games Workshop and Forge World that it's hard to resist a lot of them. That is half the battle, is resisting. The other half is finding the money for it all. Okay, the third part of the question, a bit cheeky asking 3 questions in one, but still. What inspired you to make Warhammer content on YouTube? A little bit like the knife videos, I guess. The reason why I got into the knife videos was because there was only like a couple of YouTubers that did the knife videos, and I wasn't a huge fan of their videos or the reviews, and I thought, hey, I could do this, or maybe I could do this better. That's what you think you can do it better. And I started off with those reviews on an old MacBook, recording on a point and shoot in 720p, and uploads would take, I'm not kidding you, about 4 hours for like a 10-minute video. So that's how I started, and there were a load of hurdles to get through, but that's kind of where my inspiration came from, the Warhammer content. And back then I did lots of knife reviews, knife unboxings, video game videos, video game collections, and my first ever Warhammer 40k video was actually this one, and that was July 2013. So it's just over 7 years ago that I introduced that. And one of the main reasons was because I'd got a new job and I had a bit more cash, and Space Marines had just had a bit of a refresh in terms of a new Devastator squad, a new Centurion squad. Games Workshop had just refreshed them a little bit. So it was a culmination of Games Workshop bringing out new Space Marine models, me getting a new job, and me starting to get into painting and building and things like that again. And I thought, well, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. Why don't I just do this? And I'd never approached Warhammer at all on the channel before. I was very apprehensive. I wondered how the community would take to that, because it was mainly knife videos and things. And I thought, you know what, I'll just do it. And 7 years later, it's pretty much dedicated to 40k, which is fine. And I never picked a type of content to get subscribers or views or anything like that. I just made videos and content that I loved. And I think that's the key thing. If you want to do a YouTube channel, whether it's just basing videos or painting videos or army showcase videos or just talking about the rules, just do it. If you enjoy doing that, just put it out there. That's my advice, really. So I hope that answers the question with the inspiration to make the Warhammer content. So the next question is by Zia, Glory, Hallelujah. What is more expensive, your knife collection or your Warhammer collection? Well, that's an easy one, the Warhammer collection, by far. The knife collection, I'd probably say, is a few thousand. There are a few knives there which are 300 odd or £400 plus, I guess. But the Warhammer collection, yeah, there are a couple of models there that are over £1,000. So, yeah, that's more expensive. When you say expensive, you mean like the value, the worth, rather than how much things cost? Because you can get some really expensive knives, whereas, more than £1,000 too. Whereas Warhammer, the most expensive model would be that Warlord Titan, which is, over £1,000 with the weapons. Rogue asks, which 40k edition was your favourite? I would say 3rd edition. There's just something about that. It was grim dark. A lot of the artwork was in black and white, which added to that. It wasn't as shooty. There weren't a lot of wounds about. Only like captains had 3 wounds or so, and chaplains had 2. There wasn't any of this Primaris stuff. Land Raiders weren't even a thing. And it was a lovely time to be in the hobby when Land Raiders were released, because they released the new Land Raiders and then they released the new Rhino and the Predators and things like that. I think it was in that order. I'm sure it was in that order. And to get a Land Raider for £30 or so was just amazing. And I played some games. I played a lot of games, and people had the old school Land Raiders. The big chunky plastic ones with the las cannons that didn't really look like las cannons. So that was my edition, because Eldar were still good. They are good. Orcs had a refresh, and Space Marines were decent. Power Fists were good. Thunderhammers were good. There are a lot less things to choose from, and that meant collecting an army was less of a get all the units as fast as possible, and more of a I'll get a Dreadnought this week, and then in a few weeks' time I'll get a Terminator squad, and build it. You had enough time to buy a unit and then build it and paint it for the next gaming session, which I guess there's still time to do that nowadays, but Games Workshop didn't release things every single week like they have been doing for the past 3 or 4 years. So you felt like you could have a breather. You felt like you could have the Games Workshop would only release a few new models for an army, a couple of times a year, whereas now they're releasing whole new armies in a few weeks. Hope that kind of answers why it's my favourite. There are a few more questions, and I'd like to keep it just like one question per person. So if you have asked like a couple of questions, then I will just put them in a bank and add them to the next Q&A session. Maxim 10083 asks, is Games Workshop expanding too fast in too many directions? If so, when will the expansion bubble burst? The fact that they've been expanding is just, is obvious. And that's great. With the advent of 8th edition, they really did invest in, some new game systems. I know Blood Bowl was before that, but, you still had a lot of investment for Blood Bowl. Brand new game, Adeptus Titanicus, Necromunda, and now Aeronautica Imperialis as well. Looking at it over the past kind of couple of months, you could say that they are expanding too fast, but then again, they did have a few months of relatively quietness and slowness because of what's going on in the world. So I think that they are playing catch up now, which you would expect them to, like a lot of companies, if they've been impacted by the situation. For me to keep up with it, it's I can just about keep up with all the releases and what they're doing, but I would rather they slow down and just have a release every couple of weeks. I do think releases every week is a lot, but they're a very large company now, and they can afford to do that. If it gives us excellent, beautiful looking miniatures that they're not charging through the nose for, then that's great. And it's good for my channel because the whole point of all of my videos really is to give you an open and honest opinion from I say Warhammer veteran, I guess, so that you can then use the information that I provide in the videos to make your own purchasing decision. That's the whole point of them. So if anything, I'd like to think that my videos are more relevant than ever if Games Workshop are releasing more products and at, I say, questionable price points. When will the expansion bubble burst is the second part of your question. It will burst when two things happen. One, the veterans of the hobby that have been in the hobby for 20 plus years or so, or even 10 plus years actually, get sick of the prices, or they just can't afford the prices for many reasons. You know, life changes. You can lose your job. You could have a big bill to pay out. Life gets in the way. And this is a luxury hobby at the end of the day. You know, it's not a replacement for all of your other bills and your day-to-day living costs. So when veterans get sick of the prices and the price increases and then just not prepared to take it anymore, that can happen overnight. If they suddenly just increase prices of miniatures from £25 to, I don't know, £36.50, then that change is a shock and people will recoil from that. If you're doing it gradually, say a few years ago you release single plastic miniatures for £15 and then over the next sort of couple of years you steadily increase them to £16, then to £17.50 and then up to £18.50 now, then you may not notice that change because it's a gradual one. So if it is going to affect veterans, it would have to be like an overnight change, and they don't do that. They do that yearly. They do like a little price increase every year until we get to the point where Primark that cost, you know, £55-60 is now 70 or 80, and then you have to question it. So that's one factor that would burst the bubble, so to speak. The second one is newcomers. Games Workshop have a huge focus on new hobbyists that are coming into the hobby, and if little Johnny or Mary or whoever come into the shop and they see that, you know, there's a box set and the box set is £100, that's quite an investment for something you're not that sure about. Also, you're going to have to buy the glue, the clippers, all the hobby related things, the paints, which are £3 a pop almost, sprays, all of these things add up, and that might put people off. So yeah, the more Games Workshop keep raising the prices and having them at a high price point, it's going to put off veterans, and also it could put off newcomers as well. So I think that's when the expansion bubble will burst, when the prices get too much, because the demand is there. The demand has not disappeared. Time and time again, I see limited editions of books and boxes. Indomitus box set was a classic example. Of all these products that Games Workshop put out, Indomitus was an alright price though, and they just get hoovered up straight away. So the demand is there, but it's whether people will continue to accept those prices. Okay, the next question comes from 8-Bit NPC. Do you think GW should improve the way exclusive figure should work like the new Katachan Sergeant model is going to work? That's a tricky one as well, because when does a model stop becoming exclusive? Really, let's face it, if you're having the model just in shops, then it's exclusive. And if you're having a model on a certain day or weekend with only one place you can get it from, like in the brick and mortar stores, then that is exclusive. Having it available on a date and then having it online later on, that's not exclusive. That is just a phased release, I would call that. So no, I think exclusive models should be on a specific date, either online or in the stores or both, and there should be a limited number of them. I think that how they should change them is one per customer, so that people don't get scalped on eBay and fleeced by having to spend £60 on a Terminator Chaplain or something. But the bigger question, I feel, is the secret exclusive models, the models that they hide behind a paywall. And what I'm talking about is a great example, is the Blood of the Phoenix. You've got Jane Czar there and Drazar, and for a while you couldn't get them individually. And much like Ghazghkull Thraka, can't get them individually. What I'm talking about is, in a way, bundling those two brand new miniatures in a box set that's over £100 is a form of exclusivity. It's a timed exclusivity in that Games Workshop kind of pushing you to having to spend so much money just to get these two miniatures if you only want those two miniatures. I'm against that. I'd rather address that issue. I think that's a bigger issue than, we've made an exclusive model for an event that can only be bought at this time. I would rather they address the other issue of bundling these two excellent sculpts that everybody should have access to behind a paywall. If you're going to do that, Games Workshop, and get people to pay for your excess stock that you just aren't selling, and you throw that in the box, then make those models individual at the same time. If people want to get more grav tanks and other units, then they will. They'll get the set, and if they think that the set's worth it, then again, they'll just pick up that. But having these exclusive models within the box sets, I think they should have them separately. They can do it. I'm sure they can do it. So that's the other kind of question that I've created from your question. But I hope that's answered it. So this was a question from Teflon7272 a couple of days ago on the 4th of September. Would you change the prices on Games Workshop models? If so, what models would you want to change? And if you could get any two models, Games Workshop or Forge World, what would they be? Wow. That's multi-part question there. Would you change the prices on Games Workshop models? Yes. I'd cut off a lot of fat from Games Workshop. I think they're a very large global company, and they clearly have a lot of costs involved in shipping around the world and all the staff that they employ. If they can make cuts anywhere so that it reduces the cost of the models, then that's what I would be aiming for. Because £36.50 for 10 Bowman, for example, is ridiculous now. They're not Primaris Space Marines, and that was the start. That was Games Workshop sort of testing the water, I think, with the Primaris Intercessors having 10 of them for £35 when they first came out. And that was only a few years ago. And now you're seeing 10 Bowman for £36.50. I call it the Primaris effect. How that has impacted the pricing strategy for their whole business model, I believe. So, yeah, I would cut a lot of the costs. They've got a lot of money in the bank. Their share price is the best it's ever been. I would cut some corners in their costs to reduce the price point for boxes. A box of 10 plastic miniatures, whether they're Bowman or Primaris or anything like that, should cost no more than £20 or £25. There's no way it should cost the same as a video game, or almost a video game. It's just very hard to justify it. What models would you want to change? What, in terms of the prices? Well, like I say, I think there should be limits for models. I would love to go through, maybe that's a separate video I should do, where I would go through the different types of models, like single plastic miniatures. They are very expensive for a number of reasons, and I said this in the recent pre-order video covering tech lists. And then another Q&A question within that sort of question is, if you could get any two models, Games Workshop or Forge World, what would they be? There are models that I wish Games Workshop and Forge World would make that they haven't made yet, and I'd like them to make that. So maybe I could answer that one after this question. Maybe I could answer that afterwards, in terms of the models right now. If I could get any two for Games Workshop, it would be the Void Dragon for Necrons. I really like the look of that model. The Silent King is a Silent King, but the Void Dragon is, I like all the energy surrounding it, and I just really like the look of it. Model from Forge World would probably be, right now, Space Marine Legion Glaive. just because I've been looking at tanks recently, and I'm getting a bit, I say, bored of walkers and titans and things. So yeah, it'd just be one of those. Now, the models that I wish Games Workshop would make and Forge World would make that I would like to get, for Games Workshop, it would be a plastic Warhound Titan. If they brought out a plastic Warhound Titan, I don't care how they do it, but that would be brilliant. Even if they set it at £150, or maybe, dare I say it, £200, that would be the most expensive model Games Workshop would create, and it would severely cut into Forge World, which is the other part of Games Workshop, their price of the current Warhound there, which is £430 with the weapons. But I'd like to see that if Games Workshop made that. I don't think we'll see a plastic Thunderhawk, because the Forge World one was refreshed 3 years ago, and that is a beautiful model, and I wouldn't want that to become plastic. It's an incredible model. And then Forge World, the model I'd like them to make is easily the Primaris Overlord flyer. It's supposed to be in between the Thunderhawk and the Stormbird. I'd love to see these two, sort of transport bays, nacelles, whatever, of the Overlord with all the weapons stacked onto it, and just give my Primaris a flyer. That would be fantastic. So they're the two models which may or may not be being built. So we'll see. And then there are 3 more questions. So Numo, who was integral for setting up the Discord server and the channels, Numo has asked, what are your thoughts of the Legion of the Damned on the tabletop? Yeah, I like the Legion of the Damned, but I wish that Games Workshop would have explored them a bit more and fleshed them out. Give them some more time, give them some more models and units, because I feel at the moment it's sort of up to us to mod them. I mean, yes, there are some models out there for them, but I would really wish that they were given attention. It's nice that they can come into a game and they've got their invulnerable saves, and they just appear. That's really cool. I would love to see more. I really would. Hopefully we will get some. Stevie T asks, in future, would you do a meet and greet with members? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I go to the events, all the events that I can go to, like the Horus Heresy event I went to last year in February. I enjoyed that. The Warhammer Fest, a couple of years ago I went to, and then I went to it the year before that as well. The open days I go to. So when all of this situation calms down and people are allowed out and people are allowed to talk to each other and touch each other, I guess, then yeah, I will definitely be going to as many events as possible, and I will be, very visible. I already said that I'll most likely be doing a face reveal at 40k subs, so at least people will know what I look like. I go around wearing a Warlord t-shirt anyway, so I'm and holding a camera, so I'm quite easy to sort of spot. But yeah. Of course, I'll do a meet and greet with members, but it would usually be at one of the events. And then the final question is, Niall J asks me, favourite Primarch model from the Forge World site? Sanguinius. I do like Magnus, and I really like Lionel Johnson, who just came up for pre-order on Friday. But for me, it has to be Sanguinius, because it screams of Cygnus Prime. I like him with the spear, laying the smackdown on a demon. The rest of the Primarchs are in good poses. Reboot Gilliman, who's in a bit of a boring pose, I think. Rogel Dawn is looking stoic. Conrad Kurz is sort of perched on a piece of masonry. Lionel Johnson is in the thick of it as a lion taking down lots of night lords. Horus is, just leading from the top of the stairs, I guess. So they're all in their poses that reflect their personalities, I guess, in some respect. But yeah, Sanguinius is my favourite Primarch off the Forge World website. I will be getting Horus and I will be getting Lorgar at some point. Probably get Lorgar first. But so it's going to be great for me to do unboxings and reviews of more Primarchs. I wish I could get them all and show you all of those. And that was the last question, last of the unique questions. I would like to answer all of your questions, I really would, but I think it's fair if I just answer kind of one per person from now on, because at the moment this video is almost 50 minutes, and I'll edit a load of my mannerisms and things out. So fear not though, I'm going to copy your questions that I didn't answer and put them in a document, and then they will be at the start of the next Q&A. I got so many questions from you all, so thank you. I mean, if this is what it's going to be like, it would be great to do a Q&A video every Sunday, but that means that we're missing out on possibly a new release unboxing, because I've decided to put out just a couple of the unboxings of the new releases on the Saturday and then the rest on the Sunday, however many that will be. Because I do the news and pre-order video on the Saturday, you see. So having the news and pre-order video, all of the new releases, and then a Q&A video on the Sunday, it's too much. Not so much too much for me, but too much for you all to keep on top of. But I really appreciate your questions, and as I said at the start, please do join us in the Discord server, put all your questions there, and for whatever reason, if you can't make it to our server, just put your questions in the comments of this video, and I'll go through them in the next Q&A at the start of October on the 3rd. I hope you found those answers satisfactory. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.